working okay now. And welcome everybody.
Absolutely.
I'm so knocked out that there's so many people now have joined our Might Love a Trumpet group, and it's, you know, I'd really like to welcome all those people.
Absolutely, yeah. It's been amazing, hasn't it?
Yeah.
1,200 and something now. It's just
incredible. That's how many people we've got on there, which is brilliant. Yeah, I can't quite believe it. It's great.
I know, and of course, was it 3 weeks ago we last did a session?
It was it was 3 weeks ago. It was, the weather's sort of made a bit of a change, hasn't it? It's decidedly grey and sort of cold outside, but I think last time we met it was a lovely summer's evening.
It was. Well, I've got lovely sunshine here now. It's been raining all afternoon, but now it's lovely, so I'll send some up your way.
Yeah, if you could. Yeah. Actually, before we carry on, I just thought that as we're all now sort of on this gradual get out of lockdown time, that as I purchased some PPE equipment, I thought that I'd just take everyone through how to wear one of these basic pieces of PPE. And this is a face mask here. Now the top bit has a little bendy strip in it, and that's the bit that goes over the bridge of your nose. So you put them behind your ear like that, and when you clamp that bit on your nose like that, then this bit stretches out and you put that under your chin. So I'm now ready to go on public transport. Now, what I'm actually in the process of doing, and I thought I'd do this whilst everybody was online, it's a bit difficult to play the trumpet with this. So I thought that I'd probably take everyone through this. Let's see where it's going to be roughly. Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a hole in it, which of course slightly defeats the object, but
it does indeed.
Let's see what we can. So now we have a special designed Might Love It PPE trumpet mask. There we are, we have it. And we can play with it. So I've got to get the mouthpiece back in. You can't do a quick change anyway, but there you go. A bit of PPE equipment for a trumpet player, all ready to go now. All I need is some work.
I did see an article in the week, and someone was saying, well, you know, musicians could go back to work because they can all wear masks and they can sit face, you know, they're not sort of side by side. But I did think, how would it work with trumpets or, you know, anything you need to know? But now you've just told me, so I think I've learned something already.
Yep, that's it. I was very, very pleased to see some of my colleagues going back to work at Abbey Road. I think the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra went back to Abbey Road, and there's also been musicians going into Air Studios in Hampstead. So at least there's a bit of change there. There's a bit of hope. There's a bit of light for the future.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I'm really pleased about that. You know, there's still nothing on the horizon for live gigs. I'm going to wait and see, you know, what happens over the next month or so. I've even had some work cancelled in January, so
have you?
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens with that.
Yeah, that's not good, is it? I hope it's not the one I was going to. When was I going to one? I can't remember. I'll check with you another time.
Yeah.
So how many viewers have we got now?
We've got 55 viewers, I think. I can just about see without my glasses. Yeah, 55 viewers. And there's more coming in as we speak.
Okay.
There's Marie Collins saying, hi, Marie, top fan. Yeah, it's nice to see some people, names that I know. Oh, and my sister, hi, Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
So, I suppose since the last time we spoke, obviously things have changed for everybody, and some people have gone back to work. I've been I've been doing a few bits of recording here at home. Been trying to get on top of there's a program called Logic. I've been trying to get on top of that and doing some bits of recording. There's a little story attached to it, and that is that I a few years ago did a concert with some students at the Royal Academy of Music, and I performed a trumpet quartet written by a fantastic Canadian jazz trumpet player by the name of Kenny Wheeler. Any jazz people there will, of course, know who he is. Not only was he a fantastic jazz trumpet player, he was a fantastic composer of so many great jazz works. And this trumpet quartet, I think, is really a beautiful piece of music. And I remembered that somewhere I had the score with the 4 trumpet parts on. So I started to record it. And I got to the end of doing the first movement, and did a bit of mixing on it, and thought, that's sounding good now. And I thought, right, I'll start the second movement. And I got halfway through the second movement, and I was awake in the middle of the night, and I thought, oh, hang on a minute. That note is really like off the range of the trumpet. It's like a pedal F. And I suddenly thought, obviously all the trumpet players there will understand this. I suddenly thought, hang on a minute, is this score in B flat pitch or concert? Because I'd been reading it as though it was in B flat pitch, i.e. specifically written out for the trumpet. And so I decided to get in touch with Nick Smart, who's the head of jazz at the Royal Academy of Music, and he's a massive Kenny Wheeler. What he doesn't know about Kenny Wheeler is, not worth knowing. So I got in touch with him and asked him if the score was in concert or in B flat pitch, and he told me the news that it was in concert. So basically, I'd recorded this in the wrong key. It was a tone too low. Now you can tweak it up by using, digitizing it or whatever, but I decided to actually start re-recording it. So I've done that, and I've got a little tiny bit of it here. And I just thought that I'd play so people can just hear a little tiny bit of what I'm doing. So this is not me live. This is 4 of me recorded here at home. And Deanne, if you just give me a thumbs up if the sound's okay, and if it's not, wave or something. I'll stop it there. Anne's telling me that the sound quality is not brilliant, so
no, it wasn't,
apologies for that, but hopefully it gives you an idea, and I will be putting that out on social media probably next week when the second movement's there ready to go with it. But you can hear that it's incredible writing, even probably through the distortion, that that even though there's only 4 parts, it sounds like there's a lot more than that.
Yeah, it's lovely, really, really beautiful.
The harmonies and his writing is really fantastic. So that's, yeah, the great Kenny Wheeler, because not only was he heavily involved in the jazz scene, but he was also one of the great session trumpet players of yesteryear, and was regularly in the studios playing for all sorts of things, for for pop records, for films, for TV, working with the likes of Derek Watkins and Henry Lowther and all these people, So it's really nice that his legacy is still going, and the Royal Academy have got quite a lot of his music. There's a fantastic brass piece which he wrote, which we also performed there. I'd like to do that again sometime with the students, so hopefully we will. So keep posted for that. Keep you posted.
Yeah, let us know, and well, let me know, and we'll make sure it's up on the fan site and everything. When, when it's live. I can't wait to hear it properly. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's great.
So
do we have any questions from anybody from the last time we met?
Well, we had an awful lot of questions actually, and comments and things, which was just brilliant. So let's just get the beard out of the way first.
I haven't shaved it off.
No, because I think a lot of people actually quite like it, and it's growing on me, if that makes sense.
Right.
Of course, but.
Well, I mean, I've decided to keep it a bit longer. It has had quite a few trims. I think it's shorter than the last time. What was there a question about the beard then? Was there? And what was that?
There was a question about how does actually having a beard make a difference when you're playing?
Right. Well, this is something that people had said to me before, that facial hair makes a lot of difference. And to be perfectly honest, I've only noticed when it's got really long and I've trimmed the bits that are just hanging over the lips, so you can just I've trimmed it this afternoon, and it's a bit better now. It just feels there's something between the mouthpiece rim and your face, and it's nice that if there's nothing there, I mean, I've seen trombone players that sort of have a beard and moustache, but they have this, because obviously their mouthpiece is bigger, they've got this big circle sort of cut out so the mouthpiece can go on there. But it doesn't really affect the lips vibrating. So that's the thing, really, or impede the air. That's what what we don't want, definitely.
So you're going to keep it for now?
I'm going to keep it for now, yes. Maybe when I get my first gig, I'll shave it off.
All right, we'll see.
So I might be wearing it forever. Might have it forever.
Oh, surely not. It'll come back. I mean, there was quite a lot of questions that we had, some really, really great stuff. So, we thought we'd talk a bit tonight about that, some of the stuff that's come up. If there's any questions that you see that come up as well, if you want to address those too.
Will do.
Some of them were about people that you've played with.
Yeah. Just to give a shout out to Glenn Munro in Scotland. I should have been up in Scotland tonight, rehearsing with the Moray Concert Brass. So hi to everyone in Moray Concert Brass, and let's hope that we can do the concert some other time. That was going to be a big cancer charity concert with not just myself, but with Annette Brown, great British trumpet player, and also Georgina Jackson was going to be playing as well. So hopefully that's gonna happen at some point again.
And we'll make sure we give people notice to get there.
Yeah.
So there's questions around people that you've worked with, and sort of some questions around playing, so I'm hoping that we can cover off a lot of that. There's a couple of requests that we've had too.
Okay, yeah,
which we'll definitely do. But just tell me for a minute. I mean, you just said about that recording. What else have you been doing over the last 3 weeks?
Well, I've done some other bits of recording as well. Having some recording to do has been really good. It's sort of motivated me to practice, and I practice what I'm going to record, and then I start recording it. And because if I don't do that, it's different than when you go to a recording studio, because obviously somebody's twiddling all the buttons and getting all that bit. You don't have to worry about that. These guys are brilliant. But at home, I'm sitting there with the computer the side of me and the microphone. I have to keep, tweaking things there and doing retakes and then editing it all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So the practice comes first, and I've been practicing exercises that maybe have some element of technique which I'm using in the piece. That the intervals in that Kenny Wheeler piece are really difficult, and one thing that I've found playing on my own is that the intonation is really, really difficult. I mean, I've got quite good ears, I think, but it's really difficult when you're not in a room with other players, with other musicians, because then you find exactly where you need to go. Do you need to play a certain note a tiny bit sharper, or a note a tiny bit flatter? And so that's something that is totally different when you're recording at home.
Yeah.
So I've recorded I've recorded 2 numbers to play with a fantastic brass band up in Scotland called the Whitburn Band. Hi to anybody in the Whitburn Band that might be watching this. We were going to be doing a concert this end of this month up in Scotland to celebrate their 150th anniversary, and I was going to be the soloist. And so that's obviously been postponed. It will happen at some point, but they're putting together a virtual concert, and so I've recorded 2 tracks to go on there with them, and they've sent me a recording of they've put me on to the band, and everybody's done it separately, so it's quite a feat of the person who's putting it together has got the work cut out, because they've got to take, some people record on an iPhone, some people record on a microphone, and to put all that together and do a video as well is something else. So hats off to them. So I've been doing that. That was a nice little project to do, and also something special which is for the Harrogate Festival, because obviously that's not taking place this time. I can't really say much more about that at the moment, but look out for that. There'll be something that's going to be put out there shortly, I think.
Yes, well, that's exciting to hear about. So
yeah,
look forward to that.
Yeah. So really, that's plenty of playing, and we all, as trumpet players, we all talk about chops and how do we keep the chops in. And yeah, you can keep the chops in by practicing, but you need to play music as well, because that's it's different than practicing just exercises. It's putting all those exercises into a performance, and keeping those chops in shape.
Yeah, so we had a question actually about routines or exercises you can recommend to keep your sound massive and efficient when you're practicing during lockdown.
Right.
So
well, the sound. Somebody said to me quite a long time ago, how do you manage to keep that sound going? With a John Wilson orchestra, how do you keep that sound going for 2.5 hours in a prom? And I suppose my answer to that really is to work on the kind of resonance which we get, like a singer would do. So this is like a sort of resonance within your body, within your head. And we need to get to a place where we're really efficient, because playing the trumpet is really about air. And it's how we use that air and how we control the air, whether it's fast air or slow air, or whether it's a lot of air, and of course, controlling the speed of the air is so many different, there's so many different things which we can use to control the speed of the air. I mean, one is just the tongue position in the mouth. If you go like that, the speed of the air speeds up, so the pitch goes up. And that's similar to what we do when we're actually playing the trumpet. But what I tend to do is, without boring the people who don't really play the trumpet, is in order to get my sound going well, I try and get the control of the aperture. The aperture is the hole. So I don't buzz on my mouthpiece. I blow air in my mouthpiece. So I'm going to blow air on the mouthpiece,
Yeah.
and I'm just going to add the lead. I've just got the lead pipe. I've taken the tuning slide out. See, so it's just that pipe there. And what we're doing, I'm going to blow air, and I'll do it this way. I'm going to blow air, and then I'm just going to add that to the mouth, to the lead pipe. And you can see straight away that my lips vibrate. And I'm not going to do a science lesson now. Maybe we'll do a proper masterclass.
Do a masterclass, yeah, we said about that.
For trumpet players. But basically it's to do with the returning wave, which makes the lips vibrate. So I'm not changing anything. Once the mouthpiece hits that receiver and goes in like that, the wave starts coming back and the lips vibrate. So what I do is I do that because that's just the lips vibrating to the resistance in that lead pipe. And if they start vibrating well just to that, then that's the start of me getting a consistently, big and good sound. So what you can do also is you can bend that note. So you can put the mouthpiece in again and bend down from there. So you can now hear more grit in the sound. It's got more of a roar about it.
Yeah.
And that's the start of getting that resonance. And if I do that when I'm playing a note on the trumpet and I change that as though I'm doing a bend, I'm changing the shape of my mouth cavity. If I go, if I close the mouth cavity off, it sounds like that. And if I open it up, straight away you can hear the sound, hopefully, over this connection. The sound sort of just really, it's like finding the sweet spot of the note.
Okay.
So those are the kind of exercises I do, and never underestimate sitting for quite a while just going just playing long notes, and just really working on the sound and in quietly, because if we can get a good sound when we're playing quietly, it's a lot easier when we're playing loudly as well, and get control of the air. So that's a little insight into what I do without boring the people who just like listening to music.
How many people have we lost so far?
Oh no, we're okay. We've got 70 people now, so
that's good.
Yeah. Oh, and things are looking up.
Well, I've been sitting here, cheers to everybody who's watching. Let's hope everyone's got a glass. Your waitress isn't very good tonight. It was a bit late.
No, she was a bit slow, wasn't she?
She was, yeah. I have to have a word with her.
Oh, it's nice though. I did actually go out and make a special journey because Anne went shopping yesterday and she bought lots of tonics, but we didn't realise until she got back that there was only about that much gin left. So anyway, there we are. Lockdown gin and tonic. Cheers, everyone.
Indeed. Well, we did have a question. What type of gin do you drink? So it's probably appropriate now to answer that one, I think.
I did go through a phase of drinking some of those flavoured gins. Like I really got into the Tanqueray Sevilla, which is an orange flavoured gin.
Yeah.
And there's a fantastic pub down in Berkhamsted, which stocks. I mean, I don't know. They've got about 150 different gins.
Yeah.
And I haven't worked the way all the way through those yet. But at home, I just have probably Tanqueray or something like that. That's what this is. Occasionally a Hendrix, and I like it with lime in. And a piece of lime in there. But sometimes with the Hendrix, I do like a piece of cucumber.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. I like cucumber. So yeah.
It is. Yes, there are all sorts of flavoured gins now, aren't there?
Yeah, there
Including a
are.
very weird one in my local bar that's a unicorn one with sparkly bits in, which I mean a Parma Violet one, which is truly disgusting, but there we are. You need to try our Isle of Wight gin; it's very good. Okay, so we've had.
I just saw Simon Gardner's name crop up there. Hi, Si. How are you doing? Hope everything's going okay. And happy birthday for the other day. So Simon Gardner's one of the great trumpet players in the world. Actually, he's the guy that plays lead trumpet on Strictly Come Dancing and loads of sessions and lots of West End shows. Yeah, one of my favourite lead trumpet players. Well, real great player. Yeah. So hi to Simon.
Hello, Simon. Well, talking of birthdays, I don't know if Lee Mackey's on, but it's her husband Dave's birthday today.
Oh, right. Okay.
And she said it would be great if you could play Happy Birthday in the style of James Bond. Should we have a little blast of that now then, as we link up with her birthday things? This is for Dave. Hope he's watching. Fabulous, thank you.
Something like that, anyway.
And
I don't know whether that sounded anything like anything to do with James Bond, but there you go.
Not too bad. It's all right. So let's. I think we should get on to some interesting stories, don't you?
Yes.
About different people that you've worked with. So there was a number of people, and we've spoken about this. So you told me quite a good. Somebody said about stories with Derek Watkins. So you told me a good story earlier on, which
I told a story the last time, but there's one that springs to mind. I was, like I said last time, I was very lucky to spend good times with Derek, and not only socially, but to hear his incredible command of the trumpet, and he was really a one-off and greatly missed by everybody throughout the world, but especially us trumpet players and musicians in London. Derek and I got asked to do a trip to Gstaad in Switzerland. It's got to be, I don't know, 20-something years ago. But it was a fantastic trip because we were asked to go and be in the orchestra and the band for a Quincy Jones celebration, which was taking place as part of a festival in Gstaad. And so Quincy Jones was there with his some of his friends from LA and great players, Steve Ferroni on drums and Greg Fillinganes and some of the names that people will know. So they were in the band, but Derek and I were in the trumpets. There was also Guy Barker there and a fantastic orchestral classical trumpet player who leads London Brass by the name of Andy Crowley. We were the trumpets for this week. Liza Nelly was there. Toots Thielmann's the great jazz harmonica player was playing with us. Who else was there? Patty Austin, the amazing American jazz singer. It was a fantastic time. But anyway, we rehearsed in this kind of like big hall, but it was like a chalet. It was all wood, and it was there's all the mountains, and it was very picturesque, and it was sunny. And every time there was a break, Derek used to go, come on. And he'd already been across the road to another chalet building, which was I think it was a hotel or something like that. But they did have a bar, and at the bar they didn't really serve beer; it was just wine. But we went over there, and there was 4 glasses and a bottle of Veuve Clicquot, And more or less every break that we went, it was Derek with his verse Clico. And, you know, I thought we felt like 4 James Bonds, you know, with the Swiss Alps in the background and drinking Veuve Clicquot. Yeah, it was great. Yeah, that was the kind of guy he was. He was extremely generous and great fun. So yeah,
how often did you have breaks then?
Well, we probably had 2 or 3 during the day.
Oh,
About a lunch break. It'll be a morning break, and a lunch break, and then an afternoon break. But, so yeah, by the end of the day, we were feeling good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's my kind of man, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was a great trip. I'll never forget that. I've got some lovely photos from that, and a few years back, probably about 8 or 9 years ago, when I started touring with Jesse Norman, the amazing opera singer, who I think I mentioned last time.
Yeah.
We went to play at the Montreux Jazz Festival, and
wow.
when we got there, we did the sound check and everything, and then went back to the hotel, and we came back to do the gig in the evening, and Quincy Jones was there, and Jesse Norman was chatting to him, you know, and it was fantastic because at the end of every concert, normally we were taken out by Jessie for a meal in some fabulous restaurant nearby. She treated us so well, and on this occasion, didn't realise till we got to the gig, Quincy Jones was actually introducing the whole gig. So at the end of the gig, he was there, you know, and we went into this green room, and there was a saxophone player, great saxophone player, Martin Williams, from the UK as well, and Martin and I sat chatting with Quincy Jones for a couple of hours, drinking champagne. That was a great moment, and so I met him again, and then a couple of years ago he came over to. I was doing a concert with the LSO, and he came to conduct something. It was Michael Caine was being interviewed.
Okay.
And it was at the Albertor. It was a concert, but with Michael Caine sort of talking about his films and his career and the order of play things. So yeah, because Quincy Jones wrote the music. What was that film? The Italian Job.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, and Quincy Jones did the music for that, and so that's why he was there. So we played some of his music. So it was great to see him again. And then I think it was last year, some of my colleagues played for Quincy Jones at the O2, and I think they went to Paris as well. It was a fantastic concert, another orchestra of great British talent. And so, yeah, it's good to see he's still doing it. You know, what an incredible guy, what an incredible life he's had. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You mentioned Guy Barker, and somebody commented that they enjoy seeing you playing with Guy Barker at the Christmas shows.
Right. Yeah. Well,
a bit about, I mean, we don't know if that's going to happen, I guess, but
no. I mean, Guy Barker and I go back a long way to, you know, doing sessions together. And one of the first sessions we did together actually has a tie-in to what you called me last time, which was Captain Birdseye, I think.
Well, cool.
Because I can't remember when this was, but I was booked to do a jingle, and the jingle is a recording session, which normally is only an hour long. This recording session, and you record stings for TV adverts, jingles they're called. Okay, so I got booked to go and do a jingle. It was an hour session, and it was at Angel Studios, which is sadly no more. And I turned up there, and the trumpets were in a booth, and there was 3 seats. And I sat down on one of the seats on the outside, because you don't sit in the middle, because that's the hot seat, you know.
Right.
I sat on the outside, and then Guy Barker turned up, and he sat on the other side. So it was one of the first times we'd done this session, but also it was the first time that I ever worked with the great Maurice Murphy. And Maurice turned up, you know, good morning, and he got his trumpet out of the case, and he got his mouthpiece, and he put the mouthpiece in, and he just blew a middle G. And that was one of the best notes I've ever heard anybody play on the trumpet. And all he was doing was warming up. So going back to that question about how do you keep your sound, you know, he had a sound which could just absolutely touch you, sends a shiver down your back, you know. So that's the connection with Guy Barker and Captain Birdseye. The jingle was for the Captain Birdseye fish fingers. So long gone, I think. I don't know whether they even have those adverts anymore.
Well, they have a new one, don't they? Which was a bit controversial.
They have a new one. Yeah. And so, you know, I did quite a bit of session work with Guy. And of course, Guy is really an incredible musician. You know, we were talking about Kenny Wheeler earlier on, but, you know, Guy is writing original music. He's written concertos. I think he wrote a concerto for Alison Balsam. He's writing, you know, serious orchestral music. He's writing arrangements for some of our great singers like Claire Teal, and he's writing arrangements for his own big band and compositions for his own big band. And yeah, a few years back, he got asked to do this Christmas spectacular at the Albert Hall. Of course, Guy doesn't do things by halves. He said, what I really want to do is I want to get, like, I don't know, loads of trumpet sections, like 3 trumpet sections all together, you know. So there was about 15 of us or something like this. And it was a fantastic time, you know. I mean, it was, I don't know who ended up playing the highest or the loudest, but it was a great atmosphere, you know. And at the end of the night, all that, you know, they have all the snow effects coming down and Christmas tunes and big Stan Kenton-esque Christmas medley, you know. And I first met a fantastic vocal group on that gig, and they're my favorite vocal group. And please, anybody that likes vocal group singing, check these guys out. Their names, the name of the group is Accent, and they're you know, there's a couple of Americans, there's a Canadian, there's a Frenchman, there's a Swedish guy, and there's an English guy. And they met because of their love of vocal group harmony. And they used to record remotely, a bit like what we're all doing at the moment. But they did it years ago, and eventually they all met up in Sweden and did their first gig, and they'd never met. But they're incredible. Just check them out. They've got loads of stuff for download, you know, albums, but there's a lot of stuff on YouTube. So please check them out if you're into Accent. They're wonderful. So if anybody, any of them, they're good friends of mine. So if any of them are watching, and in fact, a year ago, I was in Sweden doing something with the Swedish Radio Symphony Brass. I was directing a big fat brass concert, and as luck would have it, I just happened to notice that as there was a poster up somewhere, Accent were playing in Stockholm. So we went along to the gig and had a chat with them, and it was great. They were incredible. I think that gig might be on YouTube. I'm not sure. I think they streamed it. I think they streamed it last week or something like that, because I suddenly saw it and I realised that I was actually there in the audience. Yeah, brilliant. So hopefully, you know, there'll be another. I'll definitely be doing some more stuff with Guy, because he's, you know, he's so proactive. He doesn't stop, you know, and he's got some amazing ideas. And he's in his regular band, you know, he's got some incredible players, you know, Tom Rees Roberts and Nathan Bray and the trumpets, and it's a great. So I don't think Guy's on Facebook, but anyway, hi to Guy. Yeah, brilliant, great bloke. I first sort of came across him. I think it wouldn't have been last summer, the summer before. He was doing an afternoon prom with Claire Teal, and it was fabulous. Yeah, really good. So well, we should have been doing one the proms this year, but of course that's been cancelled. So yeah, that's a shame. Looking forward to it. I think it was going to be some kind of tribute to who's 100 singer Peggy Lee. Oh right. Oh, that would be great. Peggy Lee's centenary, isn't it? That would be fabulous. Well, maybe we should celebrate 101 next year or something. That's it. Yeah. Do you No, I was just switching that on because there's something that I want to play for everybody in a bit.
Well, you tell me when you're ready to play. I'm not going to ask you to, because I know you're going to do several bits for us tonight, and it's sounding absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, that's just a recording of something that I came across recently, and so maybe there's a couple of CDs that I just want to mention.
Yeah,
and I don't know whether there's a friend of mine on there on Facebook called Heidi Glow, and I first met Heidi through another musician, an American musician who's really into the sidemen of yesteryear. This guy, and I noticed he commented about a trumpet player, and there was this same surname that was there, Heidi Glow, and I thought, now is that either his wife or his widow, or is it his daughter or something like that? So I got in touch with her, and it turned out that Heidi is the daughter of the great Bernie Glow, who was one of the fabulous trumpet players, mainly based on the East Coast, and was the top call lead trumpet player for recordings, and really fantastic guy. And anyway, recently.
You mean the East Coast of America, not?
Yeah, the East Coast of America. I'm not talking about.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about Hull, or no offense to anybody in Hull.
No.
Or, I don't know. Yeah.
Got some good friends
Aldborough, or something like that. But so anyway, last year Heidi came to London and we met, and I took her to Abbey Road, and she had a tour of the Abbey Road studios, and she had a little tinkle on the Mrs. Mills piano, or a lot of people prefer to say it's the piano that the Beatles used on their recordings. But so we met, and she came up to Potnend here, and we had a fantastic time. So we're very much in touch with each other, and I'm a bit of a champion of her dad's playing. It's really, along with you and Razy, those two guys are the guys for me. And just a couple of weeks ago, she said, I'm going to put something in the post for you. And it's this CD here. And there's Bernie on the front. This isn't a CD which you can get in the shops, by the way. It's one that was made by somebody for Heidi. And there's Bernie there with his trumpet. And that's the CD. It's a little tribute. And, on it, there's some tracks which he did with Ray Conniff and his orchestra.
Yeah.
And there's I don't know whether you all remember The Hustle from 1975.
Of course. Bernie
was playing trumpet on that, and he also did some stuff with the stylistics, and I always wondered who it was that played this. Which is that stylistics hit, I Can Give You Anything. And it was Bernie Glow. So I now know that it was his fantastic sound. And I always thought, blimey, that whoever that is playing on there, they've got a great trumpet sound. And it was Bernie. And he did so many things. I remember a couple of years ago, I was watching the television, and on BBC 4, there was an Andy Williams show. And the band in the background was absolutely fantastic. The trumpet playing was really ridiculous. And so I posted on Facebook, and I just put, anybody put BBC 4 on now, listen to the trumpet playing on there. And straight away Heidi came back and said, that's my dad. And I was at those. I went as a little girl along to a lot of those recordings. So
wow,
it's lovely to have those connections like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
really is. And whilst we're talking about CDs, the other thing that happened recently was I decided that I would try and track down a film, because I don't want to sound blasé, but sometimes when you do recording sessions, you do actually forget of some of the things that you played on. And there was a comment which was sent to me, and somebody said, I really enjoyed your playing on this film called Motherless Brooklyn. Now, I know you'll see it all backwards, but that's it. and the music's actually written by, it's got Bruce Willis is in the film, and the music is written by a British composer called Daniel Pemberton. And I found this film had been released on Prime, on Amazon Prime. So I downloaded it, and last Saturday evening watched the film. And I was really knocked out to see that not only was I playing trumpet solos on this, but also, you know, one of my heroes was Wynton Marsalis. And I know that they recorded some of the music in America. But anyway, so I decided I'd tweet the composer Daniel Pemberton, and thankfully he replied, and he said that he loved what I'd done on the film, and he sent me a CD. So I'd just like to, it's a minute long, this.
All right.
I'd like to just play you this little track, which is a little clip from the film Motherless Brooklyn, and this is the original motion picture score with music by Daniel Pemberton. Very atmospheric music. Yeah,
absolutely.
And, it was when I was actually recording that, it was very difficult to actually work out what it was going to end up like. I mean, that's one of the, you know, very emotional bits of the film, but there's some real tense bits, and I won't spoil it for anybody that wants to look at it. I mean, I must say that it's, you know, it's a 2.5 hour film, and it's quite intense, but I think the music is really nice. So if anybody wants something different to watch, oh, it's my sister Sarah, she's saying that Mike played the trumpet on Allied. Anybody seen that film? Do you know the film Allied?
No.
Okay. Oh, look, there's a lady there. Tonya Duval is watching. Hello, Tonya. Tonya, actually, one of the first times I worked with Guy Barker,
yeah.
Tonya was the lady that fixed us. She was one of the fixers in London. So hi to Tonya. Yeah. So the piano on that recording there was Tom Corley, great British jazz piano player. And there's some nice music on there. I just thought I'd throw it in there for anybody that's interested in that kind of thing.
We're talking about film music. We do have a question. I mean, we'll talk a bit about you know, the success of our wonderful Friday night lockdown. So, but we're hoping to do one about film music and about recording film music, aren't we? But we did have a question.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
From our friend Nick today, if I can find it, I have to put the glasses on. So she wanted to know, having just recorded Hans Zimmer's Bond soundtrack, can you explain how recording soundtracks works? How is it different to recording with orchestras or bands? And do different composers work in different ways?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And there are lots of different answers. And of course, the answer now, in this current state that we're going back to, is going to be done completely differently than it ever has been done before.
Yeah.
Because of distancing. And you know, I noticed there was a session that took place. There's a new Roald Dahl film, which I think Debbie Wiseman was doing the music for.
Okay.
It's been recorded last week or this week, and you know, each stand has a number on it, and you go to that number, whatever number it is for you, and then you have to stay there for the whole session. I think, you know, you queue up outside the studio a bit like you would do if you're going to Tesco's or whatever. So yeah, it's changed a bit, but the way things are recorded, more so now than before, than years gone by, the way things are recorded things are done separately a lot more.
Okay.
And a lot of composers like to have the ability to manipulate the sound for the film. So there might be something that is you know, an Atmos type piece of music, and so they really want to have control over that. And they might want to mix some electronic effects in there at a later date. So you know, somebody like Hans Zimmer, of course, is the master of this kind of work. I mean, if you look at something like Dunkirk,
Yes.
and that soundtrack, there's really, it's Atmos, and the way that he uses orchestral instruments in that is very different to if you compare it to like Max Steiner writing for a big movie, you know, or Nicholas Rosa, or whoever it is of yesteryear, or John Williams.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's, you know, I couldn't really imagine recording, say, the soundtrack to E.T. And you know, the strings go in during the day, and then the woodwind go in the evening, and then the brass go in the following evening, or something like that. You know, because that's more the way they do it nowadays. And if everybody is in the room at the same time, there are things that happen called stems, and stems are when they say, right, okay, we're going to record the strings first. So we all sit there and they record the strings, and then they might say, now we're going to do percussion. Then they record all the percussion, and then they record the woodwinds, and then they record the brass. And of course, then it depends on how many players are involved. So if there's only, you know, if there's a whole brass section, but in that queue there's only one trumpet, you end up playing, you know, really completely solo. It's very scary, very scary.
Yeah.
I remember a few years ago doing one movie. It was a Harry Potter movie, and there was a horn solo, and they were doing their stemming.
You've got a bit fuzzy, Mike.
What, picture wise?
Yeah,
it'll probably come back. It's probably just the signal.
okay.
So
sorry, go on.
Yeah,
Harry Potter film.
Harry Potter film, and there was a fantastic French horn player called Richard Watkins who plays first horn on almost every film that's recorded in London. He's an amazing French horn player, and he ended up playing on his own because they'd stemmed all the other parts. So it was in Abbey Road Studios, and he played it beautifully, and he finished the solo, and he walked past. They called him into the control room to go and have a listen, and he walked past, and everybody sort of clapped him. And he was in there for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then he eventually came out, and I said, that was fantastic, Richard. What did they say to you? And he said, oh, they played me the sample of that they'd been using as a guide for the film, and they said, could I make it sound more like that? So, you know, sometimes we're now in a situation where we have to do that kind of thing because they get used to, a director might get used to a certain sound that's on a sample, for instance. So yeah, things have changed. You can imagine back in the days of, you know, the MGM Studio Symphony Orchestra and the 20th Century Fox Orchestra. These guys were working day in, day out on different films, and they would record it all together. I mean, all those MGM scores were done obviously with the MGM Studio Symphony Orchestra, and I've heard some outtakes from some of the big musicals, and they would do endless takes of a section. Say it's a dance routine, they'd cut it into sections, and they do endless takes. But on the outtakes that I've heard, it might be 20 takes of one bit.
Really?
Every single take is perfection.
Yeah,
it's incredible. And that actually leads me on to a hero of mine, rather nicely. And you know this, but my hero is a chap called Uan Rasey. And I know there's probably a lot of people there, especially trumpet players, that know that I'm a real Uan Rasey fan. And I can actually, first of all, I'll just tell you a little story about how I never met him, but I spoke to him on the telephone. And I can tell you a little story about how that happened. And what happened was, back in the day, John Wilson formed a big band to go and play at a restaurant in Leigh-on-Sea, which is near Southend. Not a very glamorous place, but the restaurant was quite glamorous. And we used to go there every Friday, once a month. Okay. So at the first Friday of every month, we would go and do a gig, and people would dine, and there's a very small dance floor, and we would play dance music. And that's basically how the big band element of the John Wilson Orchestra was formed. That's
Yeah.
how the personnel sort of came together. So, yeah, we used to go off down there. And on this particular occasion, it was Christmas Eve. And sorry, not Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve. And we were doing a New Year's Eve dinner dance.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, you know, so I didn't want to drive back. I wanted to be able to have a drink and see in the new year properly. So a few of us were given somewhere to stay. It wasn't a particularly glamorous place to stay at all. And we stayed at this place. And it got to sort of like 3 o'clock in the morning, you know, they've given us some bottles from the restaurant. So we're there drinking bottles. And there's Matt Skelton and myself and John Wilson. And we got on to talking, funnily enough, about the MGM Orchestra. And Ewan Ray's name cropped up. And John Wilson said, why don't we call him? Why don't we call him up? And I said, well, how are we going to do that? Has anybody got his number, you know? And he said, well, he lives in California. I'll phone direct inquiries. So international inquiries. So he got onto international inquiries on his phone. And, you know, he's got loudspeaker. And the person at the other end said, would you like us to connect you? He said, I want to speak to Ewan Raisey, California. And so anyway, they connected him. And you know, the phone rang, and then it was slowly picked up, and John said, hello, I'd like to speak to Mr. Ewan Raisey, the ex-principal trumpet of the MGM Studio Symphony Orchestra. And this voice just went, it is he speaking. And it was just like the way that he even said that was so lovely, you know. And so that was, but basically that evening the phone got passed around, and he couldn't quite believe that there were these young guys in England calling him up to wish him a happy new year. And, you know, he was like in his late 80s, and he was gobsmacked, you know. He was an incredible guy. He had polio when he was a kid, so he spent his life either on crutches or in a wheelchair. And if you ever see that MGM Jubilee Overture clip of the MGM Studio Orchestra, it's very cleverly shot when he stands up to play the solo.
Right, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so, and of course, he went on, Ewan Raisey, aside from his work at MGM, he was one of the mainstays of the Hollywood studio scene outside of MGM. So he'd get called to go and do sessions for Nelson Riddle and Billy May, and you know, all the arrangers wanted him because he had that sound, and he could literally play anything. He could play anything. He could play classical, he could play lead, he could play solos, he could do everything, you know. And I've you know, looked into his playing and the kind of things that he's done, and you can instantly tell it's him. You know, you listen to any of those Sinatra recordings and all those players on there, you know, there's the great Conrad Gozzo that everybody loves, who had that big fat sound, you know. And I remember I said to Ewan Raisey, you know, what was it like to work with Conrad Gozzo? And he said, he was a loud trumpet player, you know. So there's some great stories about Conrad Gozzo, but yeah, so Ewan was well sought after. And, you know, by the time he finished his recording career, which was approximately in the mid to the late 80s, he'd played not just trumpet, but first trumpet on something in the region of 3,900 films.
Good grief.
Everybody's heard him play. And of course, the thing that he's most famous for, really, even though he did things that were slightly more flash, shall we say, is that wonderful score that Jerry Goldsmith wrote for Chinatown. And that's, of course, got the same name for the piece of music, which I recorded on my album 56 Degrees North. If you haven't got a copy, go to my website mikelovett.co.uk and order your copy. And you know, when you order it, I send them out, so I'll sign it for you and put a nice little message in there. If you haven't got one, please, not to hear me, but to listen to the great arrangements and the fantastic music that's on there. The way that the way that Foden's band play on there as well is incredible. So
you're rather good too.
So I just thought that maybe I'd play.
That's my bit, shall we?
I'd play Chinatown. I haven't got a back. Sorry.
I said it's about time we had some music. It's about time
yes,
we had
I'm going to play you. Yes, good. Well, I'm going to play you Chinatown, if I can remember it. There we go. That's Chinatown. Of course, that was recorded in 1974 by Johan Raisi. So check out the original recording. Johan Raisi's sound is, you know, what I was saying about Maurice Murphy and the way that he had that ability to just touch you. Johan Raisi had that in loads, you know. And if you can hear that on a recording, then can you imagine what it must have been like live? You know.
Yeah.
That's hopefully something that people going through this time that we've been going through, people will realize. I mean, we can listen to music, and it's great to listen to music on good hi-fi equipment, and, you know, rather than some compressed thing that's on a mobile phone. You know, listening to music, recorded music is one thing, but to experience it live and to experience that place that it occupies in a period of time is something that cannot be replaced ever again. That one moment, you know. Absolutely. And I think that's something hopefully which is going to get us back to work, because people want that. I know the economy has obviously a massive thing to do with that, and let's hope and pray that the government gives some help to, you know, the theatres out there, the theatres that, you know, the talent. Just think of all our amazingly talented actors and dancers and singers and all the people that work in musical theatre, the people that work in straight theatre, you know, the concert halls. We you know, somewhere like, you know, the Colosseum, the Royal Opera House, all these places have got to be, you know, got to be kept, and something's got to be done to try and help these people, you know. I hope that something does happen in time.
I think, I mean, there's been an awful lot that's come online, and it's really good. And actually, I feel I don't have quite enough time to enjoy it all. But I feel like I need an extra 24 hours every day to listen to all the great stuff that's coming out there. But yeah, it's there is just something about live music, isn't there? It's about, I read some quote about it sitting in that room together with people, or in that audience, and the lights going down and just experiencing it. There's nothing like it. Nothing like it. Yeah.
So anyway, we got onto that from Johan Raisi, but you know, anybody that doesn't know Johan Raisi, you know who he is now, and just check him out. You've heard him on so many things, you know, on the Tom and Jerry films, on Ben-Hur, on all these. In fact, the last few films that he recorded were Rocky films.
Oh right, yeah.
All that stuff. Yeah. I think somebody asked something about how can I play without music?
Yes,
something.
That was a question. Yes.
Okay. Well, when I was a teenager, I used to come home from school and race upstairs, and I had a little record player, and I used to put records on. And I wouldn't just listen to the records. I'd get my trumpet out and I'd try and play along. I mean, it must have been horrendous, really. And it must have been horrendous for my dad, who was trying to teach downstairs. But I used to play along to whatever it was that I put on the turntable. So it might be a pop song. It might be the London Philharmonic Orchestra playing Richard Strauss. It might be a Glenn Miller track. It might be the Count Basie Orchestra. It might be the Philip Jones Brass Ensemble. It could have been anything. And I would just literally shut my eyes and try and play along. And the more I did it, the more successful I got at doing it. And so much so that when I actually heard music, I would know immediately what key it was in to play it on the trumpet. And that's sort of stayed with me, really. And I do try and play by ear a lot. And it's not something that's special to me. It can be developed, but try and play. Anybody that wants to try and develop that, just especially now you're at home, you can put something on and play along with it and improvise a bit. It doesn't matter if it's not very good. I do that all the time, still. Yesterday I put some little backing tracks on and tried to play a bit of jazz along with it, and that's it really helps you playing, and it makes you listen to the music more. Helps you to get inside the music. It's really important, that. So that's how I developed it, really. And if I do know a piece of music, the tune of a piece of music really well, I can play it off by heart, just by ear. And recently we had a little VE Day celebration, like a lot of people on our street just outside the house here, and we all put, we had afternoon tea and all socially distanced at tables and chairs outside, and Anne and I provided them some music, some live entertainment. And so because it was VE Day, I decided that I could maybe play along with some big band records. So I put on this, Sid Lawrence Orchestra playing some Glenn Miller music. And, I was in the Glenn Miller Orchestra for 7 years, the UK one. And I remembered all the stuff. I didn't have any music out there. And Anne said to me afterwards, "That's amazing. How can you remember all that?" I said, "Well, it's in there. It just goes in and it stays there." I used to sing in the vocal group in that band as well. And I bet if you said, "Now, okay, right, get together with 3 other singers and sing Don't Sit Under the Apple Tree, sing the Boy 3 part," I'd still be able to remember it. And, I stopped doing that in about 94 or something, and I can still remember it all. So it's a little picture in your head, close your eyes and try and do it.
That sounds a bit like a lockdown challenge to me.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, try and learn how to play along to something and see what it does for you playing. There's a lady there called Dawn Sim, who my dad used to teach, and I think she's put something about. My sister she remembers the noise when I was playing in my bedroom, and then obviously this Dawn Sim has put me too when I was having my piano lesson. So that's true what we're saying, you see. Oh, fantastic trumpet player, Dale Gibson. Hi, Dale. We did loads of. In fact, Dale was the lead trumpet in the Glenn Miller Band when I was there, and I learned loads. I learned loads of loads of stuff from Dale. So yeah, big shout out to you, Dale. Hope all's well.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Great trumpet player.
We had one more person about, oh, let me just find it, that you'd worked with, John Wilbraham.
John Wilbraham, yeah.
James asked last time how you met him, etc. So just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, okay. Well, the first time I knew of John Wilbraham was when I was a teenager. And I think I sort of touched on it last time that I had like I say, I used to come home from school, I would either run upstairs and put a record on and play along with it, or I'd get my bike out, push bike, and go on a cycle. And on one particular evening, you know, we got to a T-junction, high hedges. Basically, a car drove into me and cut my top lip off, and my teeth were knocked out in the bottom, so I lost teeth. And I thought I'd probably never play again. And at this point, I was having lessons from my first trumpet teacher, aside from my dad, was a peripatetic teacher who worked for the Staffordshire Music Service by the name of Ron Fogg. I don't know whether Ron's watching, but anyway, you know, hi Ron, thanks for everything that you did for me when I was young. Anyway, Ron had studied at the Royal Academy of Music alongside John Wilbraham, and Ron said, well, you know, we try and do something to help with you getting your teeth sorted out. And he mentioned me to John Wilbraham, and John said, sure, you know, I've got a fantastic dentist. And he had a dentist in Harley Street. You know, my dad was a school teacher. We couldn't afford to go down to London and have dental work done in Harley Street. So, you know, I had a grant given to me, but through the NHS, to have a bridge put in the bottom here. And that's what's still in my mouth today. And that was 42 years ago. Yeah. This year. So, 42 years ago. So, you know, I hope that lasts a bit longer yet. But anyway, so that was my first knowledge of John Wilbraham. And then a bit later on, he came to do a masterclass at the Staffordshire Music School. And I remember we did the Hummel Trumpet Concerto, and he was hilarious, you know. And it, you know, the start of that goes like, it starts off like that, and he said, you know, when you play that, it doesn't matter if you go, you know, and do what we call a split. He said, because if you're scared about it, you will split it. Right. If you're not scared about it, you know, go for it. And that was the first bit of advice. So, you know, I met him, and I remember we did Enigma Variations with the Staffordshire Youth Orchestra, and he came and he played the Hummel as a soloist with us accompanying him, and then he came and sat with the trumpets in the second half, and we did Enigma Variations. And all the way through, he had little, you know, pass the mint sauce, pass the mint sauce, and he was using words for some of the music. It was hilarious. He's like got his own lyrics to Enigma Variations, some of which I wouldn't repeat on here.
Yeah, never do the same again, I don't think.
But anyway, so yeah, so John, by the way, his nickname was Jumbo because he was a really big man. He was you know, a big, tall guy. Right. And he, you know, he was principal trumpet of the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. He was principal trumpet of the BBC Symphony Orchestra. He was principal trumpet of the Royal Opera House, I think, as well. He had a lot of jobs, you know. And when I eventually went to Trinity College of Music, my teacher there was a lovely guy called Norman Burgess, who was a former principal trumpet of the BBC Concert Orchestra and then became co-principal trumpet of the BBC Symphony Orchestra. And Norman occasionally would be away on tour with the BBC Symphony. So what happened when he went away was he used to put a deputy in, he used to put somebody to cover his teaching. And on this particular occasion, he said, Mike, I'm going away, so I've got John Wilbraham to come in. Do you know him? And I said, oh yes, I met him a few years back. And yeah, he said, and Norman said, yes, he'll give you some good advice, I'm sure. So anyway, the first day I was due to have my lesson with John Wilbraham, I'd done a 4-hour big band rehearsal. And in those days, because this lip was still sort of scarred, really. Well, it's still scarred now, but it used to react a lot to a lot of playing. And I played what's considered to be very low on the top lip. So basically, the mouthpiece, the rim of the mouthpiece, was cutting in to my lip and making it swell up, or it would sort of stretch it out. And I walked into this room, and I'll never forget, he sort of sat there with a little table by the side of him, and it had like about 5 cans of Coke on there. And he said, "Oh my God, Mike, your top lip looks like it's been rolled out like a bit of pastry." He said, "You're playing too low. You need to move the mouthpiece up." Now, this lesson was in the summer term. So, me being me, when I went home that summer, I set about doing an embouchure change. Now, people come to me for an embouchure change these days, and they go, "Oh, it's going to take a long time to do this." I did a big embouchure change in a summer. If you really put your mind to it and put your, there's so much more knowledge now about embouchures and about the way we blow the trumpet as well. But, again, this is anybody that needs to do an embouchure change. This is the time to do it. But so I met John Wilbraham again then, and then I think the last time he's sadly no longer with us. The last time I saw him I was playing with an orchestra down at the Henley Festival, which used to take place. Henley Festival of the Arts used to take place on the banks of the Thames there, and there was a floating stage. And I think I was doing something like West Side Story symphonic dances, and there was these steps down the back and of the stage, and then there was a little rail, and then there's the Thames. Then there's all people moored up on boats listening, and in this sort of flat cap and his little tash, this enormous, great big guy, John Wilbraham, and he said, "Hello, Mike, you're sounding good." So yeah, it was great to see him again, and that was the last time I saw him. So those are my experiences of John,
Right.
And there was an album that he brought out called The Well-Tempered Trumpet, and there were lots of different things on that. And in the early days of what we call multi-tracking, so he did the Vivaldi double trumpet concerto, and he played both trumpet parts. Of course, in those days they used tape, and they did it like that. So yeah, that's John Wilbraham. Should I play something else now?
Well, I'm looking at the time, thinking, yes, we've been talking an awful lot.
We have.
So we've
still got a few viewers. We've still got 52 viewers or something. So,
right, go on then. Give us a bit.
Okay, I think I saw somebody last time had mentioned about Pure Imagination from
absolutely
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which is one of my favourite tunes, and there's a little story attached to this, and that is that Anthony Newley wrote this, and when I was probably about 23, I actually did a tour with Anthony Newley, and he was fantastic. And I didn't realise at that point quite who he was, and all these amazing songs that he wrote. Of course, in the film, the original Charlie and the Chocolate Factory film, the score is magnificent. It's Walter Scharf did all the orchestrations, and it's really fantastic. Anybody that's into that music, just check out those original orchestrations. They're wonderful. We played a couple of them with the John Wilson Orchestra a few years back. I think we did Pure Imagination on one of the tours. But I love this tune, so that's why we did it on the album. And Connie did an arrangement. But I'm just gonna play the tune because I can't really do the original arrangement which we did on the album any other way. So here we go. There we go.
That was lovely. Thank you.
Pure imagination.
It's
And
such a beautiful tune.
like I say, the arrangement that Colin did for the band is great. There's a nice sort of waltz section in the middle, and well, you've heard it, you know it. So yeah, if you want to hear that in its full glory, if you're not already the owner of 56 Degrees North, there's a chance to buy it at a special lockdown thing going on where it's buy one get one. So and it's on my website, mylover.co.uk.
For a grand price of £50 for one CD, is it?
No. I can't remember what it is. It's about £12 for the CD, and then there's a bit of postage on top. But you just, there's a PayPal button on there. You just stick a PayPal button. One thing, because I can see him and he's looking over my shoulder. I don't know whether anybody's commented on this, but this handsome guy behind me is not me, vain. It's my dear late brother Dave, and last week he would have been 59, but sadly we lost him when he was 42. But he was a fantastic musician. He was a trombone player, but he studied music at Surrey University, and then he went to the Guildhall School of Music and Drama. He was a composer. He's written some great music, actually. I have actually recorded a little trumpet duet which he wrote. He didn't write that much stuff for trumpet, but I have started to do a bit of that. My sister just put, actually, I'm getting used to the beard. Thanks, Sal. Yeah, so that's my brother Dave, and eventually he worked for BBC Television at down at White City at TV Centre, and he was a network director. So he basically mixed all the programs together and made sure they went out on time. If some were on a hard disk or whatever, he had to make sure that was all lined up and ready to go, and he had to make sure that the BBC 6 o'clock, the news has to be bang on, and when it went out to the regions, he has to make sure all the regions come in time and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But sadly, on one of it was shift work, on one of his days off, he just collapsed with a brain hemorrhage, and that was the end of him. So it was, I'm surprised actually how many people I've heard of that kind of thing has happened to. But yeah, he was a great guy. But so I thought he'd be part of us tonight.
Yes, I think that's lovely. That's lovely.
Yeah.
Well, it's we've been on for an hour and 25 minutes.
Yeah, I'm sure people have had enough now of my stories.
Well, yeah, we haven't had any really great stories, I think. Should we just talk? Anyway, I'm sure you've got a lot more funny stories, including someone comment about you and your colleagues in underpants. But I think we might save that for another one.
Yes,
you
okay.
Told me that one, which is a great story.
Yeah.
So let's just say about what we're thinking of, because I mean, thank you to everybody who's been watching tonight, who's joined us.
Yes,
who's
joined
the Facebook page. I hope you've enjoyed it. But we are thinking about doing some sort of more, not targeted, but different sort of themes. So I mentioned about the film scores, which I know a lot of people be interested in, maybe around your the music or the music that's influenced you.
Yes.
We talked about a masterclass when we had a question about the flugelhorn you were playing, or what was it? From last week. So let's just try and build those things in. But I hope people will be interested. So we're thinking about films, about maybe or the album or the CD, as it's called in younger parlance. About working with big bands or different things like that.
Yeah, we'll definitely do that.
We're going to do a prom special, aren't we?
We are, yes. Yeah, we're going to talk about the 10 years of the John Wilson Orchestra at the BBC Proms.
Yeah.
This year would have been the 11th, but it wasn't going to be anyway. So you know, it's not like that was cancelled. There wasn't one in the book for this year.
No.
So yeah, that'd be really good, and we can maybe look back over some of the music which we covered. You know, there was such a wide range of music which we covered in those proms.
Yeah.
It used to, you know, this time of year now was like me gearing up ready for that, and you know, Anne would tell you that the closer it got to the John Wilson prom, I got more and more on edge, and you know, it was a big thing for me doing those things. And actually, each year it got harder and harder, because it was like there was a certain expectancy of what we were going to do and the standard of it all. But yeah, it was great. So yeah, it'll be good to do that one. I really look forward to doing that.
Absolutely. So we'll try and get these sorted, advertised. But if anyone's got anything in particular, any sort of themes, let us know. We'll have a look and sort of see, you know, what we think we might do. We're on a bit of a roll now.
Yes. What's that? No, Graham Broken's point, did I ever do any Elmer Bernstein film tracks? Sadly not. How I would have loved to. Great writing, great composer. Great. So don't forget to use your PPE when you're going out. There's another thing I've got here. It's just like a little plastic folder. You can actually just put that over your face as well.
Thanks for
that. You have to be careful. You have to be careful with that. That's like using it as a visor. You need a bit of tape.
You need to put it the other way up, so the bit at the top's, that'll be easier.
Like this.
Around it.
Like that.
Yeah. No, the seam at the top. It's
very hot though. Very hot. Anyway, there we go. Now, I think somebody wanted me to play a piece which I've never played before. And for anybody, the person that was asking about playing by ear and not using music, I have got music for this, and it's here. So
I think it's the last piece, isn't it? The one you're going to possibly put on your album. She'll be very pleased.
Yeah,
to hear.
I might do. Yeah, somebody's Paul Harvey's bought an album, so there you go. Thank you, Paul.
Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you. Make sure you dedicate it as well, or you will do. I know you will.
Yeah, I will. Yeah. So, so this piece is something that I think most people have heard Alison Balsam play this at one point. I think it was on one of her albums, I think, and I think she played it at the last night at the proms as well. And it's a piece by it's a piece of tango music by Astor Piazzolla, and it's called Libertango. So thank you, Deanne, for an enjoyable hour and a bit. It flies by. I hope everybody at home has enjoyed listening to me gabble on about some of my fortunate experiences I've had to be a musician. And like Deanne said, we'll do it again. And again, any questions, or please, any of you that are not in the My Love It Trumpet group, sign up on there. Subscribe to me on YouTube, Instagram. I'm on there. Twitter, I'm on there. You put
this on Twitter tomorrow, on YouTube as well.
On YouTube, yeah. This will be on YouTube tomorrow. So I'll put that up there. Yeah. So we'll just sign off and see you next time. And stay safe and take care, and don't try and do things too quickly. Take it easy. We don't want this coming back again.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So,
thanks everybody.
I'm just going to try and get my music sorted out, and we'll take it away. I hope this works.
Fantastic, mate.
I'm just going to turn this down, and then do this. Actually, my Bluetooth speaker has turned off, so let's just reconnect that. There we are. Sorry, everybody. There we go.
That was fabulous.
Thank you very much. Nice to see you, and thanks again, Deanne.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks, everybody. Hope to speak to you soon.
All the best to everyone.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
If you've enjoyed it, share it. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.